Good Lord, that was exciting music. I've had intro music before.
I know. I need to shorten it. I think there's a 30-second one. I need to go with the 30-second one next time because woof. But welcome to UI Wednesdays. We are live with Chris Ford today. Hello, Chris.
Hello.
So for those of you who don't know, he has been my cohort in crime for the last decade on Adventures and Angular. I don't actually know how long it's been. So 12 years.
It's definitely not been 10 years.
I said 12. Yeah. I always get confused. I think decade means 12.
There wasn't any Angular in 12. Yeah, 12. Yeah, I suppose from the Latin for 12, maybe. I don't know. I don't do Latin.
Oh my goodness. So welcome. But yes, we today. So Chris was on DevReach with us a while back, last month, I think, or something. And he added a reactive form to our project that we're going to be looking at today. And I was working on it last UI Wednesday and was struggle busing because I shamedly am only used to template driven. Like I've done reactive.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And
don't forget. There's no shame.
Oh my, but there is. It's something I wanted to talk to you about is like, what? Like, why do people care so much? There's a lot of passion if you miss the passion in the Angular community about which form you're using. And if you're not using one or the other, you might be looked down upon. There's a bit of template-driven form shaming.
Yeah, but as I said in my talk at DevReach, I said then and I say again, I strongly advise not having any particular opinion about which type of forms are better, because at the end of the day, they allow us as developers to achieve the same thing, and it's just about a different interface for us. The user doesn't see any difference, right? It's just you pick the interface that works for you, and anyone who says, well, template-driven forms is the only way to do it. It's like, well, I'm sorry, with all due respect, you are wrong. There's two ways of doing it, you know?
Well, I was in the Chick-fil-A parking lot waiting for my...
I don't even know what that is.
My salad to be brought unto me. I don't know if are you jazzing?
Chick-fil-A.
I don't know. Is this like the lay-by where like I didn't know what that was? Or is this a real...
No, I know what a parking lot is. We call it a car park, but... Chick-fil-A, I can only assume is some sort of delicious restaurant.
Yes, a chicken restaurant.
Chicken restaurant. Why are we ordering a salad?
Well,
You got
there's
all that chicken to choose from.
chicken on the salad, man.
It was a chicken salad, okay. Yeah.
So like I literally I have this secret of I love salad so much. Like I could have it for every meal of every day. So anytime, yeah, people love their chicken sandwiches, but I have to do the salad. I have to.
Okay.
So anywho, I was chilling in the parking lot waiting for my salad, browsing the Angular docs as one does in the Chick-fil-A parking lot, waiting on their salad. And I was reading about the differences between reactive forms and template-driven forms, and I found a really interesting nugget. Use my chicken pun there.
I see. This brilliant segue. It's not a segue, is it? Because we're keeping going. I'll get my coat.
That both forms are a way to interface with the form controller. One is just more direct. Did you know this? First of all, is this like news? Or because like whenever you use ng model, apparently that's an indirect way of manipulating form control. And when you're using reactive, you're just directly using form control. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize all along I've been, because that's the scary thing for me. Whenever I get to reactive, I look at, and I can share my screen, I can pull up the docs, but it's like that part where you're like binding to form control. And I'm like, mysterious form control, whatever the heck you are. And then you go over to the TypeScript and you're like, now what do I do with you? So I get a little lost in that moment. But yeah, so Chris, it was so funny. You were telling me the other day that you don't mind reactive forms. And in fact, that's like all you've ever known. Yeah. Like you never.
Well, so when I learned Angular when it was in beta, from a fabulous online course on Udemy, by this chap called Maximilian Schwarzmüller, who is, he has some rocking courses. He did. I mean, it's a hugely comprehensive course. It's great. I recommend it for anyone who wants to pick up Angular. It's fabulous. But yeah, he did. So he did like a 90-minute section on the template-driven forms and a 90-odd minute section on the reactive forms. So I had my first experience was of both, and like for me, the reactive form is what clicked. It's what made sense. So I just never looked back. Everywhere where I've worked, where we've used Angular, we've either been in a position where I was the one deciding what sort we used, in which case I went with the reactive, or they've already been using reactive before. So I won't come out here and say like I am the expert on all. Well, I'm not an expert on anything, but I won't say like I am the expert on all types of forms, because I literally hold my hands up and say you can't see them. There they are.
Yeah.
I don't really use the template forms, but the thing that I understand about it is that the template-driven forms, you put the most of your form logic into the HTML template, and the reactive forms, you put the majority of your logic into the component in your TypeScript. And for me, that particular way of doing it works because I find HTML can get cluttered enough as it is, especially with a form, because you've got elements all over the shop, right? You've got to have your error handlers, you've got to have your inputs, labels.
You're right, it is.
And if I'm attaching extra stuff on as well, it's like, I don't know. Whereas when I'm doing a reactive form, I can go into my component and I can just grab a control. If I just want to put like a value changes subscription on one of my controls, I literally just go into my component, I just subscribe, I grab the control out of the form group, and I go, right, get this control, value changes, subscribe, and then I can do whatever I want with it. And I like that. I don't have to faff around in the template.
No, for us non-eloquent speakers, faff is F-A-F-F.
That's right.
Is that how you spell it?
Yeah, faffing. It's like just wasting time.
Okay.
We're gonna learn so much tonight. I've learned about Chick-fil-A.
I've learned about faff. Also, on the Bake Off, I learned about chuff. I'm so chuffed.
Being proper chuffed. Yeah.
That's a good thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It means you're like stoked, like really happy.
My friends and I were in an argument. They're like, "No, chuffed is bad." I was like, "I think chuffed is good." So
chuffed is like, yeah, if you're chuffed, Tell you what, you're having a great day.
I'm really glad to get this from the source. Okay, let me share my
Absolutely.
screen share. We're gonna share all
Please
of
do.
it.
People are probably already sick of looking at me.
Is it shared? I think it's shared. Yeah, we're sharing. Okay. So welcome if you're watching. Tell us where you're from, what time it is for you. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, USA. It is 2 p.m. What about you, Chris?
I am in just outside of Southampton in the UK, and it is coming up on 8:15 p.m.
Even the way you say time is fancy.
Absolutely. Everything I say is fancy.
I love it.
When I'm on air. Either that or if I'm holding a meeting.
So, okay, last UI Wednesday, the whole reason this was brought up was because during DevReach, Chris added this hire a hero section with this form that you can request to hire a hero. And I was going through and just basically unifying styles. A lot of times on UI Wednesdays, I'll just do CSS or UI UX questions and tackle those. And so we were just diving into the form. And I, of course, have no problem with the styling part of it. But then whenever I was over here and I was just adding comments to you in my in my markup. There you go. I want to use Kendo UI form error messages. So I think I was having an issue. Let's see.
Yeah, interesting you say that. Can you just go back to the browser?
Yeah. Hang on. Nope.
Oh no.
Hold. No, it was me. It was because I tried to do the thing that I wanted to do. The thing that we're gonna hopefully fix.
I just want to say it looks so much better than when I was finished with it.
Thank you.
I'm pretty good at CSS.
But honestly, all we did was we just made it consistent because a couple of the inputs weren't matching, and it was center aligned, and everything else on the side is left aligned, things like that. So it was almost.
I put it in the center for a reason.
Oh
I was making a bold statement, saying, "Look at my form."
Wait! Are you telling me that I need to center align everything?
No. Yeah, start with the div.
Div. Okay. So also, if you're joining us, I still need to hear where you're from. Where you're from, what time it is. I love that question. And if you want to check out, why am I getting this? I don't want this.
Did you have a salad for breakfast?
Oh my gosh. Okay, you joke. Do you know Shy? You know Shy. Of course you know Shy. Why did I ask you that? Did I tell you the Shy salad story?
No. I'm going to enjoy this. I just realized I look really short compared to you. I'm halfway down.
Hang on.
Yeah, I guess it's my camera position. It looks like you're really tall.
Are they React or Angular forms or both? Tofu Lock asked. So this is in the Kendo UI Tour of Heroes repo that I wanted to show you that I am no longer showing. So this is the repo. You can find it under Alyssa Michelle, KUI Tour of Heroes. It is Angular. I don't do the Reacts. I've tried the Reacts. Chris, do you React? Is that something you?
I overreact sometimes. Boom! Oh no, everyone's going to sign out. No, I don't. I've dipped my toe. I haven't experienced it enough to have an opinion.
I'm showing everybody this thing. So we are talking about reactive forms in Angular. So it's a little confusing because the word React. But there are two types of forms in Angular, and I was going to show you the differences. There's a whole long doc. I think this was actually what I was reading earlier, but it walks you through the differences between creating a reactive form and a template-driven form. But yes, sorry, Tofu was confused by the reactive. I was actually thinking that because right before this show, Chris, I have a friend who goes on and does a React show, and I was like, oh, the titles. These are going to be. But we were doing something. We were saying something. Oh, yeah. Shy, Resnick, and Salad.
Oh, yeah. Goodness, I'd forgotten already. Brilliant. Tell me about Shy's salad.
I was just we were in Poland, and we were catching a bus to go to a really sad place. But that's another story. And it was 4 a.m., I think. And so we had the hotel create us breakfast to go so that we could eat it on the bus because it was going to be a really long bus drive. And it was me and Shy and I think a couple other friends. And I think Mike Rocky was actually there too. And We open up our breakfast. We're on the bus, and he had them pack. Like, I've got like, eggs, like sausage, like normal breakfast items for me, and like black coffee. And Shai, he's from Israel. He opens his, and he had them pack him this massive salad, like lettuce, peppers, cucumber, like everything crunchy. It's 4 a.m., people. And he's like eating this thing without dressing and without remorse, just going to town on these raw vegetables. And he looks over at me and he's like, "You need more base in your life, Alyssa." I was like, "Base?" He's like, "Yeah, like you've got all this acidic things that you're like," he's like, "You're even drinking orange juice with your sausage." I was like, "Oh," like he's like, "Have a cucumber." So yes, I did not know that that's like I guess a cultural thing. It's okay to eat leafy greens 4 a.m. Like, I don't know. Shout out if you do that. I've never heard of that before.
No, I mean, I don't often wake up and think, you know what? I could murder a good salad right now.
God, I love him. Okay,
so you got enough water there. You got a big enough bottle. Crikey. Careful, you got to sit here for 2 hours.
It's like rude to make someone laugh while they're chugging their water.
Sorry.
So we only have Chris for a very short time.
I know, and I'm just wrecking it, aren't I? Just
no, you're doing wonderful. I just want. Yes, are we? You want to see this?
No. I just wanted to compliment your CSS. You were saying I just read your first comment in the code about you want to use the Kendo UI. Error things. There was actually
I did something horribly wrong. I don't know what.
Nice desktop wallpaper. There was a specific reason why I didn't, because I actually started out using, because I wanted, obviously it's a Kendo UI project. I set out to use Kendo stuff as much as I could to keep it consistent. But for some reason, the Kendo UI error components, I don't know, good. You got an error. The Kendo UI error components, they weren't behaving. It was when I was trying to get the validation to work, because the funny thing about Angular is it has fabulous validation and a lot of so much power in how you can validate your form fields. But it's surprisingly tricky to display the validation errors when you want to and not when Angular wants to. But I suppose Angular is a opinionative framework. So I wanted to specifically show the validation errors. Like after you tried to submit the form, I wanted everything that was invalid to show the error. And I tried a number of different ways, because there's like a dozen different ways to do it. That's a completely made up figure, but there's a number of ways to do it. You can tackle it however you want. Tried a number of ways and it wasn't working. And then just out of interest, I switched out the Kendo UI error component with, I think, a div. Yeah, div. And suddenly my validation was working when I wanted it to. So that was the problem I had. So you could switch it over to the Kendo UI, and what you'd find is that the validation messages would show when Angular wants them to show, but not the way I built that.
So I think what I need is just like a basic understanding of the form you built, so that I can then go and be like, here's how I can expand on it and basically make any changes that I want to, because I've kind of poked at reactive forms before, but I want to. Okay,
so give you the rundown. You want to use the docs, old school.
Yes. Okay, where do I go? So I'm on
Chapter 1. What is a form?
Okay, wait. Should you share? Are you actually chapter 1ing me? I don't see a chapter 1.
No, I'm not. No, okay. I mean, I can share. I'll have to really super quickly get on the right branch.
I just need to look difference between. No, I wanted you. I can totally share. I was trying to find the docs on that I was chilling on in the parking lot. Reactive, and because It was really cool the way it described, and it was on Angular IO. So this one. Oh yeah, I think I was just on the wrong. So I think, yeah, this is the one I was using. So I wasn't on reactive forms yet. I was just going over the introduction, and it goes through choosing an approach. And I love the way they described it because they were talking about reactive forms and how they're like the pros that you hear all the time about how they're more scalable, reusable, robust, testable. And they go through those, but then on template driven, they also say things like they're useful for adding a simple form to an app, such as like an email list sign up. It's easy to add, but it doesn't scale whale. There we go.
Interesting.
So I think they were saying if you have something quick, super basic, then template driven might work really well for that. But I've only ever worked on projects that had template driven, and on some reactive ones, like it's not hard to like work on a project that has a reactive form and just work your way around it. But if you have to actually edit the form itself, that's when you need to start understanding these differences. And like you were saying, like template driven uses directives, things are like all in the template versus if I want to show you, I loved how they described. They go through setting up a reactive form and then the exact same form in template driven. And then they go through the data flow of like what actually happens when you're clicking. And something that I thought was really cool is that both of them are using form control. I said this earlier, but one is just behind the scenes with NG model. And so let's go back to I'm going to actually share this in the chat in case anybody wants to check it out. We are in the hire. So many hard things to say today. But let's go over to the codes, and I want to check out the TypeScripts. So you go. You say things.
So starting from the top, it would be super helpful if I was sharing, wouldn't it? So that I could talk you through it. I just need to get on the right branch.
I know. It's a mess. That repo is a hot mess. Nobody judge. I try to drink a gallon of water a day, Chris. I got to keep up.
I don't know how much that is.
What do you measure water in?
Liters.
Okay, hang on. I have to Google.
Sorry, I think a liter of water is 1.75 pints. Remember that.
You have to know how much a pint is. Liter.
Oh yeah, well we do our measurement totally weirdly in this country. We do like half of it in imperial and half of it in metric. And it confuses the elderly members of the population who refuse to go in any way metric.
So I try to drink. I need this in the other direction.
Also, a US gallon I think is different to. So you try to drink 4 liters.
Yeah. But I don't go over
8 glasses of water in there.
But I don't go over 8 liters.
Okay. Until you finish that bottle. Right.
No, seriously, if you're drinking more than 2 gallons a day, you got to stop. There's the water toxicity.
Yes.
My doctor told me. Okay, you found something? Should you share?
Yeah, I'll share. Okay, I seem to remember last time I had this fabulous issue where my what's the name? I had to shrink, like enlarge it hugely. Right, share screen. You'd think that entire stream. There we go. I gave Firefox permission last time. Can you see that? Am I sharing that?
I am adding it. It is there. And ooh, it's pink. Is it pink because of my pink? And then I shared that pink and now you have that pink? Or is that your pink?
Idea. It could be peacock. But I'm not sure.
It's peacock and I saved the settings, but I didn't know if they would. I love it.
Oh, I see. That's fine. I mean, that's fine. Is it big enough? The code? Do you need to be even bigger?
I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Let us know in the chat if not, but I think it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise I'm going to struggle to see it myself.
I know.
Bear in mind, this is the version that you merged in with my pull request after DevReach, so it's going to be a little bit behind. I'll just talk you through the basic setup of the form, and then we can switch back to you.
Fancy.
Tell you what, let's get the HTML out as well. So the backbone of a reactive form is to have this thing called a form group, and this is where you build up the model of your form controls as a as a JavaScript object, effectively.
See, this is where I get confused because I always see form group and then I see form control, and I'm like, what the heck? Like,
yeah, and now
so,
that's actually a very valid point, because there are, believe it or not, there's like different approaches that you can take within reactive forms. And again, I have the way that I like to do it, but I would never say this is the way you must do it.
oh, so you're saying there's like multiple reactive form patterns?
Unless I was trying to enforce consistency. As so, for example, if I'm on a large team, then if somebody tried to do the different way, I'd be like, for consistency across the app, can we do it this way? But otherwise, if you are just creating your own project and you like to use form controls, then I would be like, that's fine. You just do, again, what works for you. So we have the form group makes up the object containing all the controls, and that is actually connected to this directive here on my HTML, on my form element. I use this form group directive, and I literally just give this my form group that as it matches on the component, right? Then we also have this thing called a form builder, which is basically just like, again, you don't have to use the form builder, but it is basically a helper class that will allow us to build our form object. And then what I normally do is from my on-init, I usually have an initialize form method. If you don't initialize your form correctly and at the right point of the life cycle of your component, your console will blow up with errors because the HTML will be looking for your form controls, and because they're not there, it will go, all right, you told me to look for this form control and it's not there. What am I going to do? And then it goes. So we have this initialize form. I mean, whatever, you can just put that straight in the ng on init if you want. But if you're for larger forms, I mean, this is going to get quite beefy. And what we do here is we say we're going to initialize my form group, which is the hero booking form in this case. And we use this.form builder, which is my thing that I've injected up here, .group, and I literally am just going to pass into this an object, and it's just going to be key value pairs where the keys are going to be my form controls. So again, you can initialize these with the form control object. I never touch it because I don't personally feel that I need to, because I like to do everything from inside my form builder. And I initialize things with an initial value of null, unless you want to give it something. Somebody asked a very good question on DevReach, which was, do you have to do null, or can you initialize it with an empty string? And they said something like, can you use an empty string like I've always done? And my response was something along the lines of, like, I used to use the empty string and it works perfectly well, but there are some circumstances where like an empty string might actually be a valid value for a control. And so if you, for example, name, if my name was it's a string, obviously, if I had like a particular validator, I think the empty string wouldn't be triggered by the required, but the empty string that I initialize it with could actually be taken as a valid response for a string, right? So tend to just put null, but whatever you want. So these are my controls. They're the keys. We initialize them with an array as the value. And so it contains your starting value and your validators. And in most case, and validators is an object provided by the forms module. And they will literally, once I attach a validator to a control, Angular does all the magic in the background. And if I, for example, try to submit my form without populating the name field, because I've told it it's required with this like tiny piece of code, my form will be invalid and I can't submit.
Now, in order to use validators is from like the form control, is that like you have to use this only inside of the initialized form here, or you can use this elsewhere? Like, is it only used in combination with like the way you're doing it right now?
You can, well, interesting. Down here, we've got conditional validators. So you can add or remove validators to a control. This is what I was talking about earlier, how I literally just want to grab a particular form control. In this case, it was the GDPR. And the reason for this was because if you are in the States and your customer is in the States, so your business is in the States and your customer is in the States, but you market worldwide, a customer in the States, GDPR doesn't apply, right? GDPR only applies if your customer is in Europe. So the reason why this was added in is that we wanted to start off by saying that GDPR wasn't required as a validator, because what I don't want to do is to say, right, US customer, you haven't checked the box that says you accept GDPR, and the US customer is going to be like, oh, good grief. I imagine that's a common response. Like, I don't need GDPR because I live in the States. Whereas if I log in from a IP address that's in Europe, you're going to need that validation. So here we go into my form group, we say get, and then the name of the control, just pass it as string, and that matches up with the key that we put in here. And in this case, we can just go set validators, and I can put the validators on there. You can remove them. You still have to use set validators, which I think sounds a little bit backwards, but you do set validators. You just chuck it an empty array. I think it's an empty array. Yeah, because it will take an array or a single validator. So you pass an empty array, and that will remove the validators from it.
Like how you can check for the Europe or the UK.
Sorry, say again?
I said I think it's interesting that you have to check for Europe or the UK.
You
for that
don't.
One? That was confusing.
I did it because the UK is only going to be in Europe for another, 28 days. So, like, at the moment, you could lump the UK in with Europe, but then from the 1st of Jan, you wouldn't be able to do that. So I was trying to make it realistic.
That makes sense. Okay.
What I don't know is, and this is going off, I'm not going to go on too much of a tangent. What I don't know is whether GDPR will still apply in the UK, right? I imagine it might not, but at the same time, it took all of everyone so many years to get it sorted. I imagine I'll probably just keep it. But so that's why that was separate. But I added the UK. I actually added the UK location because I've also got different validation on different telephone numbers. And this was just with some slightly shoddy regexes that I threw together. I remember you had a lot of fun with that. So I've got like a specific regex for a UK phone number. I got a specific regex for a US phone number, although you told me it didn't work on your number. So it's also not that right.
It's just the jank way I tried typing my number. When you told me the rule, I was like, oh yeah, I should have done that.
Or that because I don't know like any other number formats, you just got like a general one that will stop you from inputting text in your phone number. Okay. Anyway, sorry, I digress massively. So in your HTML, literally all you have to do is on each control in your form, you just put this form control name directive, and this matches up to these ones here. Okay, and that's your form built, done. You're connected.
Okay, go back
questions
to the HTML real quick.
Yeah. Oop, come back.
Shirley Dev wants to know, is it regx or regx?
Harder stuff. However you want to say it. I'm a GIF person, unfortunately. So
I just called them Shirley Dev. It's Surly Dev. So first of all, sorry about that.
It's like,
oh gosh, yes. So, and Surly said it's a hard G. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's a regular expression, right? It's not a regular expression, but I find that regex is a little bit softer on the speaking.
Oh, that cracks me up. Okay, I wanted to see regular.
Yeah, regex. Sounds a bit aggressive. Like everyone loves someone called Reg. Such a friendly.
So let me recap on what I have learned today.
Yeah.
So if we're using form group, as you are, we're not using form control. Because like in the docs, you'll see that they're binding to form control.
Yeah, I believe it is it's implicitly set through the form builder.group.
Okay.
See, so I'm passing it, the object that I'm passing it isn't just some random object. It fits with the interface of a abstract control options. No, it's not even now. That's the next thing. It is actually any, to be fair. But if you don't fit the right pattern, it won't work.
Okay, so did you learn about Form Builder whenever you were going through that Reactive course on Udemy, or?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay.
Yep.
So it's not like a rare find that you dug up and you're like, I'm going to use this gym everywhere. Like, it's a normal thing.
No, again, Max's course. I'll put a link to it in the chat before I leave, because it is very good, and he regularly updates it when the new Angular versions come out.
That's awesome.
To the point where he'll re-record all the videos. This thing's like 40 hours long.
Oh my gosh!
And he'll re-record as soon as it becomes outdated. He'll re-record the whole thing. I mean, I don't have affiliation or anything. I just think he's a fabulous teacher.
That is
so again, in his course, he went through the different ways that you can do the reactive forms, and again, the form builder group. It just made sense to me, because like I can literally throw my form together with what I consider to be a reasonably trivial object here. And, if you're building a web application of any scale, you are probably making a lot of forms. And so you can just get to the point where you can just churn these things out without really thinking about it. You chuck all this stuff in, you go to your HTML, make sure your form control names are all there, and you're laughing. and then it can get more complicated. So, for example, you can create a component which you can use something called control value accessor to turn it into a form control, and that's pretty cool. I won't go through that now because it's a little bit more in depth. But so, for example, say I built my own custom drop down component, something like the ng select or something like that. Within your custom component, you implement this thing called the control value accessor, and you just have to implement a couple of methods which effectively allow the reactive form to do a value change subscription, to put values into it. And there is a third one which is escaping me for the time being. It might come back to me. But as soon as you've added these three methods, I can put like in here, like my custom control.
Yeah.
And I can just give it a form control name. Like that, done. And that will work, even though it's not a standard HTML form element that I've used. It is a component I've built. Because I've used the control value accessor, the reactive form can talk to it. It's very powerful.
Do you use it often?
I do. I use it quite a lot in my current role.
You have a lot of custom components that you're creating?
Yeah, we're basically building out our entire own UI component library.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, maybe you don't love that.
To be perfectly honest, we have a components team who do the majority of the work. I'm on the functional team, which means that I'm just using the stuff they build. But I have made a couple of custom things. Like I made what did I make? Oh, I made a custom drop down, just like my example. Yeah, I did one of those, and so I used like control value accessor for that. You can do it. You can make what's the name? Like a file upload component. I've built one of those before as well. And again, control value accessor, just so you can just plop into any form and it works. It's a bit sad. I can't actually see you because I'm sharing my screen. I only have one screen.
Do this.
So
is that better? Did I fix it? Did I fix it? Can you see me now?
I think trouble is I go back here and I'm just sharing this tunnel vision screen. So if if you would need me to be in the code to talk about things, I can be. Or if you want to go back to your code and look at some of your
I think we're
issues that
good.
you were facing.
I just think it's fascinating. I think
Sharing.
there
we go.
Yeah. No, I think it's really fascinating. And I am actually going to go and do Max's course because I am struggling with the differences between the different things that you can do with reactive forms because it seems a little overwhelming.
Let me go and grab it. I mean, luckily it's on Udemy, which means it will be on sale forever.
I like it, making fun of the Udemy sales. They do seem to always have a sale.
I do say to people, because I in my last place I was at, there was a lot of junior devs and people who were working on other things who wanted to be devs, and so I quite often would get folks coming up to me and just saying like, how do you get started? Maybe because I'm so approachable, maybe, I don't know. I used to get the question all the time, so I have this list of courses. I in the end I wrote it all down because I was getting these questions so much. I would just like copy and paste into an email to them. One of the things I say is like most of these courses on Udemy, and if you've never been to Udemy before, you might go there and be like, what? I'm not paying £250 for a course, or that. Which, to be fair, when you're a junior or not even a developer yet, that is a lot. And in dollars, it's even more. But I'd say like literally, if you go on Udemy and it's full price, give it 3 days, guarantee you it'll be on sale. And so far that has not. It's been every single time. So let me see, Maximilian Schwarzmuller. He's got such a lovely teaching style.
I love that. Whenever you find a teacher that like jives with you, I love that.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's $9.99 at the moment because it's on sale.
Yes.
Guys, where do I put
that? Yes. Can you?
I can put it in the private chat, but that's no use for everyone watching.
Yeah, put that in private, and I'll plop it in the public. I'll plop it. Thank you, darling. Okay, everybody. Chris has to go soon, so if you have any questions regarding reactive forms, life as a British man, or top hats, he is the expert. I totally just made half of that up.
I'm looking. I don't know what I'm looking for. I'm like looking for my top hat. I don't own one, unfortunately. The only hats I own are beanies.
Oh.
Although that said, I did used to have a trilby, which I used to wear. Trilby is how do you describe it? I mean, it's like, it looks a little bit in style like an Indiana Jones style hat, but it's like made of felt. It's more the sort of thing that you would wear if you were going out.
Spell it.
Trilby, Trilby, I think.
Looking it up.
Trilby hat. So I used to have one of those.
Like kind of like a fedora.
Yeah, that's exactly what I just said, like an Indiana Jones style hat.
No, Indiana Jones is more cowboy.
Indiana Jones is a fedora. It's a fedora. But a fedora is look at me with my hat knowledge. I didn't digging deep. A fedora, I believe, is made out of moleskin, whereas a trilby is like felty material.
I've learned so much.
Yeah, so like a good fedora would set you back a substantial amount because of all the moles that have to be harmed in the making of it. Whereas you get yourself a nice trilby for about 20 quid.
Look, I actually made it up that you're a hat expert, but you apparently are.
I don't know where that came from. I have all sorts of useless knowledge about all sorts of things.
Thank you. Well, seriously, Chris, thank you so much for coming on. I know it was a short episode today. I just really wanted to run down on reactive forms. What the heck's going on? Let me know in the comments, the chat, the chitty chat, if you want more Angular. I know I usually do more CSS things and UI, UX things, but I've got a request last week, 2 weeks ago, for jQuery things. So, I mean, I guess I'm going to go down that road for.
I won't come on that one.
the heavy sigh. I loved it. But honestly. Guess what's happening next week? I'm so excited about it.
We do next week. Hang on, let me guess.
Oh my god. You might actually be able to get there based on knowledge that you have.
Jimmy, we'll do
we
do 20
texted
questions
about it.
Kind of. Goodness me.
Kind of. We
No,
talked about so much. I know.
yeah,
Okay. I'm having a guest on.
yeah,
She's amazing. She looks a
yeah.
lot like me, and she's learning HTML and
Oh, it's his
CSS right
sister.
now.
That's right, learning HTML. I was going to get it.
Yeah, so I went to Full Sail University and I got a web development and design degree. And my sis is, I think she's 8 years younger than me. We're pretty far apart. And so she is now going to college and she is getting her design and graphics design degree. And so it's a little bit different, but we have some overlap. So they're actually teaching HTML, CSS, and JavaScript this month. And so she's doing a web project. And me and my husband's like dearest, we're both web developers. And so we're like, you're falling in love, yes. And she's like,
That's right. That's the way to entice him. Be really creepy about it.
So I'm gonna have her on and we're gonna work through her CSS homework next week. It's gonna be epic. So yeah, Full Sail alums represent. But let me know what you want to see more of, and everybody, please give Chris your love online. You can see his Lord Chancellor Twitter handle.
Nobody asked me what it's like living life as a British man.
I mean, I personally would love to know. Do you love it? Is it the best thing ever?
I mean, I suppose it's all I've ever known. So the grass could be greener. Where in Britain am I? I am in Southampton, which is on the south coast, pretty much in the middle. It's like literally the middle, right at the bottom on the coast. The sea is about 5 miles away. It's quite interesting actually, because if you go into Southampton now, it's a big cruise ship city. It was the city where the Titanic was launched from, and so that went so well that we now have a proud history of cruise ships. But now you drive into Southampton, and all the cruise ships are parked up, like they're just there, abandoned. They have been all locked down. So you literally just drive. You're driving into town, right, and it's just cruise ship after cruise ship after cruise ship. You look out; they're just out in the sea, just parked up, anchored down, empty. It's bizarre. Really super freaky.
Can you swim? Is that ever a thing?
I mean, I can. I wouldn't want to swim out to a cruise ship and then climb up the side of it if that's what you're implying.
I'm just saying, I feel like it's always cold there. Do you ever get to jump in the water, or is that not a thing?
Yeah, I mean, we had like our hottest summer ever. So it was #climate change. Yeah, I mean, it was. You remember we were recording Adventures in Angular, and I was in here like literally dying of heat exhaustion because it was like 35 degrees Celsius outside, which is something hot in Fahrenheit, like 215, something like that.
No, definitely not 200. If that ever happens, we're all dead, I think.
Yeah. What else is it like in the UK? Oh, Alexa has a different accent. She's super posh.
Okay, wait. So I've heard, and this could be from really old movies, and it might not be that way anymore, that there's like two sides of the UK. I don't know if it's up or down or left or right, and like one side is fancy and one side's not, and one side has like a accent.
You're talking about the north side, the north-south divide.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is a thing. It's more of a thing than it should be, really. But I think you tend to get a lot of the manufacturing was historically in the north of England. So things like steelworks, shipyards, coal mining, things like that. Whereas down on the south coast was where people would, it's close to London. People would holiday in the countryside just outside of London, things like that. But yeah, I think it is kind of a thing, but less of a thing. Like a good friend of mine lives in Leeds, which is in the north of England, and it is really up and coming, like hugely metropolitan, loads of business, loads of big tech, fintech, things like that. So
I see.
There is more manufacturing up there, but it's less of a thing than it used to be. A northerner might come on and disagree with me. I don't know.
We're getting up to Yorkshire. I don't know what this means.
It's pronounced Yorkshire.
No, it's like Lord of the Rings.
Would you say would you say Yorkshire pudding?
Yes, that's. I really. Are you making fun of me?
Yeah, I am. Brilliant.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Leicester. It's pronounced Leicester. Oh, that's interesting. Launceston. Look at Surly Dev. Look at all this. Launceston is in Cornwall.
Leicester?
Worcestershire.
Leicester?
That's Worcestershire. Interesting. I actually
Shire.
originally come from a town called Bicester, which is Bicester, and it's a Roman town. It's so all of the old Roman settlements have this Cester, which is pronounced like stir. So like near where I went to school, about 30 miles north of where I grew up, there's a town. Believe it or not, it's spelled Towcester, but it's pronounced toaster. Like the thing you, like the thing that you make your toast in.
Oh, that's awesome.
Bicester, you've been to Bicester, toaster. There you go, Toaster.
Oh my goodness!
I know. I did actually. I saw a random. I was watching some stream the other day. It was like a gaming stream, and they were talking about, I think, possibly New England stuff and trying to work out how to pronounce basically place names which are named after stuff in the UK, and it was quite funny watching them try and figure out, like Gloucester, for example. I believe there's a Gloucester somewhere around there, and that's the same. It's spelled bizarrely. If you ever tried being a British developer and finding that you have to drop all the U's out of all the words, it's very difficult. It's very challenging. When I first did CSS, it's like, what do you mean I can't spell color with a U in it? How dare you?
Ooh, how do you spell gray?
Gray. That's interesting. I think it's Grey, but actually they're kind of interchangeable. That we can use GRAY. So
me and my husband have agreed it's EY. That way, like on any projects that we work on, like it's spelled EY. But I love that they're that they're both acceptable. It does make me like my eye twitch when I see both on like the same file, like spelled both ways. I'm like, we should at least agree within the file. Like,
yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, Chris. This has been
You're more
fun.
than welcome.
And I'm totally
tremendous.
Check out the Udemy course that he recommended. I'm going to paste it one more time in the chat. Last chance.
Certainly Dev's been spamming me with things to pronounce in my funny accent.
Oh my goodness. Color is a thing. Yes. Well, yeah. So thank you all so much for the fun, quick, short stream. Next week, come on for some CSS fun. I'm going to be teaching my sister again, doing her college CSS homework. She's a designer, but she's dabbling in the SISs. So
make sure that her college lecturers don't see that you're doing her homework for her on a stream.
No. She's doing it. But whenever there's moments, it's so funny. I don't know if you've ever been with a brand new, we're talking like fresh off the press coder who's like trying to figure out how things work. But she gets into these things where she's like, I don't know what I did. And I'm like, oh, you're just missing a bracket, right? Like, oh, you're totally, and she'll just be like, stare. And I'm like, it's fine. You're not going to lose it. It's all right here. So I love it. We're going to do it together. She's definitely doing her homework. I'm not cheating. Maybe one day, but not today.
Okay. I'm just, I'm literally just giving you fair warning
that it's illegal to do your homework on Twitch.
Only if it's illegal for your sister to do your homework for you on Twitch while everyone can see. It's not illegal.
She told me, she goes, I'm going to send my professor a link to the stream. I was like, do it. Do it. Well, cool. Have a great evening. I know it's late there for you, so thank you for taking time out. And
you're more than welcome. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Awesome. Well, and chat, have a beautiful evening, morning, wherever you are. So yeah, awesome. We're ending it. Mwah! Bye.